Hey folks, welcome to today's live stream. Let's go over the important pivots on this chart. So first of all, our trend definition on the 4 hour is still miles away at 9,200, and it's really not going to be a relevant pivot for quite some time. We are still technically trending outside of its 3.2 standard deviation, which does imply extreme expansion. And of course, with extreme expansion, typically poses a lot of initial risk, right? So if you have extreme trend, it's generally not a good idea to bet against it, and it also implies heavy exhaustion as soon as the trend sees some kind of respite. So it does make things kind of hard to read. On the bright side, though, we do have two cool conditions on both the 1 hour chart and the 15-minute chart, and those are going to be the 3.2 standard deviation of our CLCP, and we actually currently have a new registered compression range which formed overnight, and that's really nice because it's actually defining price action pretty nicely right here. Right, really I wouldn't currently expect price to go much farther below 7,700 or much farther above 8,300, and furthermore we do have some more nice news here in the lower time frames. So because we're actually maxing out from the previous over expansion, I'm actually going to manually draw in this longest over expanded period, although the compression range down here is still accurate and is holding quite nicely. So if you want to do some swing high, swing low range trading for we scoop the bottom band, you want a long, you scoop the top band, you want a short, you can totally do that. Let's just go over the actual mean inversion pivot, or our mean inversion condition that we're currently applying to, because it's currently set. I'm going to open the data window so I get this as accurate as possible. Looks like we are looking at the 125 period, so we will plug that value in and take a good look. Oops, that's the wrong settings. We want to look at this indicator, and we want to plug in 125. All right, because that's going to be the trend definition for this current move. Beautiful. And if we activate a compressionary mean inversion condition like we did here yesterday, and that has been happening for 15 hours, Yeah, that's pretty good. So mean inversion condition is actually technically completed at this point. So yesterday's prediction did come true. We have done nothing but go sideways as defined by our compressionary range, which we defined on the 1 hour chart, in addition to the mean inversion condition, which is so nicely compressing around price. Right, so 15-minute chart is actually looking pretty close to being capable of trend resumption. We have 3 of our wave PM values below 0.4, which does imply very high potential energy here on our lower time frame. And the compression range, generally one thing you can do with compression ranges, I'll bite. What you can do is if you actually start tagging extreme values and you're seeing expansion on the wave PM and the compression range cuts out and it ends, like we saw maybe, or here for instance, it didn't do anything here because we didn't have any CCI waiting. But you can generally bet on trend if you are in either here or here, right, between the 1.25 and the 3.2. The compression range ends and you have expansion on the wave PM. So we can pretty reliably bet on that. Because we're here on the 15-minute chart, it is going to require some closer finessing, and I would very much recommend not over leveraging anything at this point in time. Although seriously, I am more inclined to attempt short entries or long entries. So if we actually do end up tagging that 8,200 value, I would attempt a quick short. Okay. because catching the swing high on a downtrend is always preferable than attempting to catch the swing low on a downtrend, right? Because betting in the direction of trend is always the better thing to do when you have defined trend, right? Because typically we're stick with these really big compressionary periods on Bitcoin, and I honestly am more inclined to trade mean inversions during compressionary periods and attempt to trade the trend during, well, trending market conditions. So with that in mind, I would avoid anything too risky at this current time. If you are watching this on YouTube, please give me any comments on which altcoins you would like me to look at, all right? As far as the daily goes, we will be looking at our current mean reversion condition, which is actually completed. That's pretty cool. So we're actually getting a new reading up here, right? You see this new mean forming. That's just entirely volatility overhead, and I would not honestly over-consider that reading. All right. So what we're looking at here is this trend definition, which held pretty nicely. But when we activated the condition, we did stay inside the band and eventually saw full mean reversion on the daily chart, with implied expansion to the downside, which is bearish. Definitely bearish, right? You can also take a look at this on the 12-hour chart, because the wave PM really does capture the nature of the expansion. Let me just show you the previous time where every value was below 0.7. It was right here. What happened when every value was below 0.7, followed by significant CCI weighting? We saw a huge spike, followed by a sloping compressionary period, and then trend. Honestly, I would not be surprised if you saw the same thing, where we have that kind of tight compressionary range from beforehand, and then due to the lack of liquidity, due to over-leveraged people in a tight range, we saw a short squeeze to the upside, just as we saw a long squeeze to the downside here. And I am very much inclined to believe that trend will either continue or see a stall before continuation. However, I would not bet on downward continuation from there just yet. I am interested to see how this ends up compressing, so do be careful. All right, no comments. That's it. All right, we're done. Goodbye.